I had to really pull myself together. Alex here joining me late for our Snapchat. And buddy, we actually have a pretty good episode. That's partially why I wanted to push myself to be able to get this out there. We got some fun stuff to talk about. Obviously, Snap Packs being announced. We've got Infinity Ultron. Good God, what a wild ride that's about to be. But then we're going to have some good conversations about the OTA and how I think they need to change and how we think the balance patches in general need some love. And then last but not least, we're going to be looking at all the card games in the world right now, from Hearthstone to One Piece of Magic to Snap, and kind of look at the state of them, how they're doing. Thought it'd be a fun conversation. Alex, how you doing, though, on this beautiful Monday?
Buddy, I'm doing great. First of all, I'm sorry that you're sick again. It's like you are a magnet to every virus on Earth. You must have the best immune system, man. You're fighting everything off.
It's been a while. I feel I knew I haven't been sick in like 6 months. I came off casting though the other day, so I was pretty dead from that. But I haven't been sick. I've been okay, healthy. When you have kids though, man, I'm telling you, I think that's the biggest separation that people who don't have kids don't realize. You get sick so much when you have kids.
Oh, buddy. First of all, I'm a teacher and I see literally thousands of kids a day because of the way they walk through the building. And then I have kids in different buildings because my kids, 2 of them go to daycare, 2 of them go to elementary school. One's in a JK class where they literally wipe each other's noses with each other. And then so it is an absolute cesspool. JK and under is absolutely crazy. And my kids come back and we're so diligent with stuff too. If our kids are sick, we keep them home. We make sure that
right.
Nonna comes over, takes care of them. We don't spread it. And then I go to pick up my kids and there's kids with snot running all the way down their face. I'm like, this kid is clearly sick and feverish. Why is he getting my kids sick? And then sure enough, 2 days later, my little guy is
oh, dude, and then you just know, and then it just snowballs, man. Yeah, my kid woke up sick the other day, and I knew I was, tending to him being a loving father, but as I was holding him, I was like, I'm going down. I just knew, I knew it, and here we are. And I knew it was going to come right before the Snapchat. I'm like, life can't be too easy. Listen, man, we got a lot to break down today's episode. What are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we're going to have a quick conversation about Kahori in review, whether or not it's worth picking up. We're also going to be discussing the Snap Packs. We got a full reaction with regards to the pricing, and we get a little bit of an idea of how it's going to be like to use Snap Packs in the general economy. And then finally, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, man, let's get right to it. We got Infinity Ultron, and you see down below, Trash or Treasure is the name of the subject here. And you know what? I think we both, whenever we did the initial review on this card, we talked about it being certainly fun, but probably not great. And I think we're both still landing around there now. Before we get into the nitty gritty, is he trash? Is he treasure? What do you got him at for the star rating?
So I'm going to stick to my 3-star rating. I definitely have reservations. Could he overperform my expectations? Perhaps, but I'm leaning towards the downside here. I think 5-6 just isn't enough power for the RNG elements you're getting. I think the stones are good, but you're committing essentially turn 6 for those stones, and they have to be really good. The alternative is obviously ramping them out and stuff like that. But for me, I'm on the downside here at 3 stars.
Yeah, I think I'm going.
And even then,
I'm going 2. Yeah, I'm going 2, man. I think I'm going down. I think, guys, this is a extremely fun card. Dude, with Snap Packs around the corner too, there's just no way you grab this card, right? Look, it's Cannonball and who else with him? What's the other spotlight?
Pixie
and so Pixie and Cannonball. There's just no shot. I think you don't pull for this card. I think he's very fun. And I think that you can go from via the Snap Packs, and that'll be great, or token cost, whatever way you want to do it. He has a lot of cool and interesting elements. There are 2 decks that I think he actually has a chance to be good, and if he's not good in those 2 decks, I think he's going to be very bad. But he is going to bring what we get every now and then. That's just a new kind of play style, different way to play, and extremely, honestly, just a good time. And so that alone is what I'm excited about and to talk about. Will he be competitive? No, I don't think he's going to be the meta card, but he will be a good time, and you can definitely get some wins with him. And so, if you enjoy Mr. Negative, if you enjoy some of these decks that do that, then hey, he might be your style of play, and I think a lot of people do fit that category. So Infinity Ultron 5-6, he has a lot of stones. We're about to go over them. Right away, though, you brought up Ramp. I think Ramp is actually the best home for him, most likely, because you have to. His biggest problem is the 5 cost. It's just weird to get Agamotto at what he was stat-wise with what he could bring to the table. And then you've got this 5-6 here, and there's so much RNG elements. It's just there's a lot of questionable. Before we jump into it too much, though, I guess let's bring up the stones. Let's get the stones here ready to go. And here you guys go. They don't have the official logos yet in game. We assume they're going to be the same stones as Thanos's, but we'll break them down. So first things first, guys. They're all 3 cost. Okay, different power assortments between the stones here. Should we break them down one by one and let's give them individually like what 1 through 5 stars? You want to give them like how we think the stones are going to be?
I wasn't expecting that. Okay, it's going to be like off the cuff for me, but we can do it. That's fun.
I have no idea either. Man, I barely know where I am right now. Let's go. There's 6 stones, and we'll place them in what order we think they're going to be out of the 6, just off the cusp. So first one, we've got the Space Stone. It's a 3/4. All right, so obviously not a bad stat line, honestly. On reveal, move the lowest power enemy card here to the location of Infinity Ultrons, okay? Which is potentially, again, a 6 power card that you'll be putting up in that lane. Where do you see this one? We haven't read them all yet, but do you want to read them all, then you want to place them?
Let's read them all first to give at least the audio listeners a bit of a well-rounded kind of idea of what we're talking about. Then we'll dial in, I think.
Okay. Guys, and again, sorry if my voice is human waste.
Your voice sounds beautiful, actually. When you're in like the lights dim mode, and like this is a much more like vibrant, like like sensual phone call cozy. I feel like I've called some dirty hotline. You know what I mean? I think I really like this. I should. You know what? I know you're not going to delete what I just said, but maybe you should have.
What are you wearing? No, I'm keeping it. Reality Stone for Ultra. We have 3/1 on reveal. Add a drone here. Set its power to Infinity's Ultron. So kind of like a Taskmaster just built for Infinity Ultron. Time Stone 3/1 on reveal. Put a card here. Put a card from your hand here. So definitely interesting. What's that card that came out like a couple months ago? No. It's that one too, but this one's much more trash. It was just in the OTA that Red Wing. It's kind of like that.
Oh yes, Red Wing. Yeah, way worse Isan. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mind Stone. We've got a 3/2 ongoing. Your on reveal abilities here happen twice, so kind of like a Wong. Soul Stone is a 3/3 on reveal for each of your full locations. Give one of your cards +2 power. And then you've got the Power Stone 3/2 on reveal, double Infinity Ultron's power. So by reading all these, before we break them down, Alex, give me what's the best one of the pack here?
I would lean best one overall is Ultron Reality Stone, which adds a drone and sets its power to Infinity Ultrons. The reason why I say that, it doesn't have a crazy ceiling, but it has a very consistent floor. Okay. And I think that's one of the makings of a good card.
I like it. I'm going to go with the Time Stone. I think the Time Stone might be my favorite, especially if you play him in ramp. I think there's a lot of potential with the Time Stone to get huge value out of it and just cheating it out. And you already need a lot of miracles to happen to get this thing to work. And so I think, and here's the thing, you're getting 2. So some of these do combo together. I think we're just looking at them as individual value. Okay, so the number 2 would be what on your list?
I kind of like the Mind Stone that allows you to on reveal twice. However, the Time Stone that you just identified is probably the second in terms of overall strength, because the Mind Stone, I don't know. Because if you think about it, like, yes, a lot of these have on reveals, and so you can kind of use the Mind Stone as a combo piece, but taking them individually, I do think the Time Stone is pretty good as kind of like that Isan effect, dropping something from your hand. Actually, no, it's not even like the Isan effect. It is more like Red Wing, because Isan only pulls created cards. Yep. I should actually correct myself. It is more like Red Wing. So yeah, I would probably put that at number 2.
Time Stone, yeah, I think I'll join you with the set power, because then you're getting a 3/6, at worst, right? And then you're also getting potentially more than that. So I'll join you there too. So we swap 1 and 2, right? And then we can both agree 3 is going to be the Mind Stone.
Mind Stone?
Yeah, getting your on reveals twice, which it's cool. But in practice, I'm like, yeah, it should be fine. This is why I feel like you need ramp here a ton. And that's why if you could get this thing out early, it's like, because on paper you look at it and they make you want to think, okay, you do that with the Power Stone. Awesome, let's go. But if you only have 1 turn to do that, dude, that's such low odds to have that happen. But I will go with the Mind Stone. The Soul Stones, what is this? For each of your 4 locations. Okay, so you're getting, what, 6 potential power from this thing? From the Soul Stone?
It's not insane, but it's not the worst.
It's not the worst. Okay, so then we've had 1, 2, and 3. 4, what are you going with 4? Double? The double?
I would go with the Power Stone.
I guess,
doubling
right?
of Ultron's
but
power.
It's 8 power for a 12. No, for 14 technically. 8 energy 8 energy for 14 power.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
And then I from there, I would probably go the Soul Stone, which for the full locations give the +2, which is now I think we're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel, by the way. This does not seem like a good effect.
They're all getting way worse here. Yeah, the Space Stone being a 3/4 at least is mildly interesting in stat department. But
yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Soul Stone. I actually think I might go Soul, then Power, then Space. I think is how listen, they're all not great at the bottom there, but the top 3 are good, and that's where you start to see a little bit of the problem. So you've got cards, you've got these stones that are good, you have stones that are bad, and then you have combos that are good, and you have more combos and much more that are bad. So you can't rely on the combos here. So that's the pickle with this guy, Infinity Ultron, is he's very RNG dependent, right? In a couple of ways. And so, I think ramp has the shot for him to actually be pretty damn good. Because you could cheat out big cards. Getting him out on 5 would be everything. So I don't think you could do the Electro, right? Because you don't want to mess with that, because that just messes up the stone stuff, right? But Psylocke, Hope Summers, Luna Snow, Wave, we've got a lot of options now to make him work. I think that's the route the traditional ramp route might be the way to go.
I think Luna Snow is absolutely the best choice, and I'm glad you brought her up. I believe that my opening deck for Infinity Ultron will be a Luna Stone deck. First of all, I've been playing a lot of Luna Stone. Anyone that's been following my videos would know that I've been putting her in a lot of decks, 3/6 power with that ramp. It's actually a huge stat line. And we often forget that in Marvel Snap, you win games by putting power on the board, right? More often than not. And so with Luna Snow, I think the key thing with Infinity Ultron is Luna Snow on 3 allows you to play Infinity Ultron on 4. But it also allows you to play both stones on 5, opening up turn 6. Because if you do something like an Electro play, well, obviously with Electro, you're limited to 1. But let's say you wave. If you wave on 3, Infinity Ultron on 4, going into turn 5, you only have 5 energy, which means you can only commit 1 stone because they're 3 costed. And of Snow, you have access to that additional energy consistently. And I think that it's going to be ultimately the best way to curve into Infinity Ultron. And it's also going to solve one of the key problems that Ultron has, where you still have the opportunity to have a high impact turn 6 play.
Yep.
Which I think is notable.
Yeah, and you mentioned Quinjet, I think Magic. There's a couple cards that you could just get that benefit from Infinity Ultron anyway. But yeah, I think Luna Snow and Psylocke are probably the best 2, because Psylocke, you can play Psylocke on 3 to get him out on 4, same song and dance. But then also you can, if you get him out and let's say you use Luna Snow, then you can play Psylocke and a Stone. I don't know, there's her at 2 kind of feel good to be able to give yourself more energy later to get more of the stone combos popping off. But also every card that you go in there, this is the problem with the ramp, right? Each card you go in there, then at that point it could be a card, let's say from the Time Stone that it pulls down. If you have an Infinite in there and you have a Psylocke, boy, that's going to feel bad if the Time Stone picks the Psylocke. So you want to limit those options. But I'm telling you, man, I think with what we just built there, a little bit of a Luna Snow ramp, there's so many big cards now that could feast off this. Obviously, you want to probably make a lot of them on reveal based. I think Doctor Doom just kind of fits good in here, right? Because all of a sudden you have the full locations card +2 power. That's going to work with Doom a lot easier. You've got the Mind Stone that's going to double the on reveal effect. That's a huge splash of a turn. So you've got a lot of those things that work for you, and I think even Odin could fit into this because you've got some of these cards that want to keep going. That's where I see probably the best shot for him outside of one more deck. But I'm glad that we're kind of linked the same here. Do you have anything else to add to ramp before we go to the next energy?
I was going to say that Odin was a good call and a natural follow-up to the Luna Snow thing. In my original design and pen and paper, I don't know if it's going to make it because we still have a few days, but I actually have Hulkling, which I think is silly, but Hulkling might... It's a little bit of cope, but it is 12 power, and I want to lean into the random nature of things a little bit, and I thought that could be fun.
Okay.
It's just one of my early designs I have. Like it. But you are right to identify that with the Time Stone potentially pulling something random. If you're going to make a ramp deck or a wave deck or whatever it happens to be, you're going to want to have big targets. One of the things that this deck does not have the problem of in comparison to the traditional Thanos is Thanos dilutes the deck significantly. Infinity Ultron decks will not be diluted. He'll be adding these directly to the hand. So you are able to draw a little more reliably. based on what your deck is. However, one of the advantages of Thanos is that draw engine that occurs to let you kind of like get through the deck. So Thanos has like zoo capabilities that I don't think Ultron does.
So this is where I was going with this, okay? So then I thought, okay, so if we did Electro, or even if you don't, looking at draw engines, all right? So forget Electro, but if you wanted to, but you've got Agamotto, first of all, into this Blink deck. I was thinking Blink was an interesting choice because Blink, you have the ability to, cheat out Infinity Ultron, which is a huge win at that point. But also, you get a little things cooking there. I think the chance of Agamotto being able to use the stones to his advantage with the images of Akan or whatever. I mean, you have different ways to work him into it. Then, though, you do dilute the deck a little bit, so I guess you do the direct opposite of what you want to do. There's just some interesting 5s that are on reveal that could also work in this whole kind of build that they've got going on. We're doing a lot to try to make them work, and I think that's going to be ultimately a tough spot for him. But let me highlight this, man. We just talked about Luna. We talked about potentially Hope Summers. But when you look at the cards here, okay, I think Silver Surfer. I know, dude, you're the Surfer guy. You're the Surfer guy. These are all 3 cost, okay? You can even plug in Sarah in there to make them even cheaper. But these are going to almost all work with Surfer, like most of them. The Soul Stone, the +2 power on full locations. The on reveal abilities happen twice. They're 3, that's obviously insane cook. And they're all decent power at that, too. So you get the 3-4 in there. I don't know, man. I think that this has a shot in Surfer decks. And hell, could you even go Magic Surfer? Could you go... There's just a couple builds you could do to make it to make it actually work, and he's not complete garbage.
You know what? I actually had not thought about Surfer because I think that like the turn 4 and 5 is so critical that committing Infinity Ultron to it on turn 5, you have to get Surfer in there on turn 6. And so that means you're only playing one of these cards unless somehow they're discounted. But if they're discounted to 2, but that wouldn't have affected the Silver Surfer. So you'd need 7 energy. And that's maybe where the Hope Summers comes in. Because if you have Hope Summers and you have you play your Infinity Ultron on top of Hope Summers, that will give you 7 energy going into turn 6, would allow you to play 2 of these discounted plus Silver Surfer itself. That would be a nice pop-off, especially if you get something like the Mind Stone. Right?
Luna, though, Magic, same 2. Those are both 3s. Luna and Magic. Wave is 2, but we won't talk about her. But like, there's a lot of 3s that you could maybe squeeze in there that are also getting the job done for Ultron to get his job done. And if you just get... And then it limits the RNG, because if you just get the Mind Stone, that and Surfer is probably going to win, okay? Because you're going to double tap that. Put a card here from your hand here. That's another one that I think has a high probability to win, because you could play that first, then that's going to drag a 3, then you play Surfer. Okay, so you've got that. You've got double Infinity Ultron's power. That's just going to be pure good. You're going to get the 12 power spike, and then you can play Surfer. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these just cook with it.
It's entirely possible. Like, it is. And I'm thinking about it now, because you kind of caught me on the spot. I wasn't expecting a Surfer conversation here, which is funny, because I should always be ready.
I know. I was going to say, I thought that was going to be what you lit in with, yeah.
No, I definitely lean into the Luna Snow ramp, personally. But now that you mention it, there are ways to make it. But the problem is now you're competing with... Okay, so Sarah isn't even making modern Surfer decks right now, if you think about it, right? Which is insane to think about. Like, Sarah not making the list? So, if you're not going to be playing Sarah, maybe there is room for Infinity Ultron. But where does the discount come in? Like, where does the actual... you know what? Leave it to me to cook a little bit. Like, you could even... just thinking, because you can't use... Because you're still running... You're going to run Gwenpool. You're going to run Galactus, right? Galacta, sorry. You got me thinking.
I feel like just having Luna and or Magic and or Hope Summers might be enough. And back in the day, you used to do the 1 cost. I mean, you could do the Quinjet. I think Quinjet obviously is a bit too... it's too much cope at that point, because then you're just hoping you get Ultron. So you need to go with more of the Magic or Luna route, is how I would see it. I guess maybe you could build I don't know, some other crazy hybrid. But I don't know. When I was thinking about Luna for ramp, and then I was thinking about some of the other cards, I was like, man, I think Surfer actually just fits here like naturally.
No, it definitely can. I wonder if that version of Surfer would not run something like a Brood. Because like something has to give way, right? Like you have to give way on something for these stones. I'm not sure. Leave it with me. I'm going to try cook on Tuesday.
Okay.
Leave it with me. But I don't know. It might be cope, but sometimes the decks that start as cope end up being the most inventive because you're pushing something that no one else was going to try to push, and then you end up finding something that works way better than you expected. So I like this conversation a lot. I do. I'm like just really curious. I'm like, how could you get? Like, what does turn 6 look like consistency? You're right, because Magic is interesting, because Magic's a 3 cost. But then if you think about it, if you're playing Luna Snow Magic, and those are your kind of lines on turn 3-4, now you're missing out on the Galacta, you're missing out on the Gwenpool, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if you need those. I don't know if you need, like, think about Galacta's adding what? Like, you're playing her as a 4/5, and then you're getting some extra power for the couple turns that you play her there. Totally get it. But if you think about the Hazmat deck that uses Magic, right? Because Surfer and Magic don't go together anymore outside of that one. The old like Luke Cage hazmat, bomb that used to do, right? That used to have such an explosive finish that you didn't really care what they did. So I'm just curious, like, will it be worth that payoff? Will there be a big enough explosive finish? And I think with clearly the Mind Stone there is, and maybe even just the Power Stone as well. You're adding 2 3s to your hand. So it's just like, man, it's just kind of keeps it flowing.
I think the major challenge here is that when you think about like how Surfer ends up winning games on turn 6, it's often because you have tech and you have power at the same time. So you have the Surfer that adds the power, and you usually have a tech piece. That traditionally was something like a Killmonger, which was enough to activate the Nova, wipe out their 1-drops, and add power to the board. Then you start doing things like in the current meta where you have things like Rogue, which could flip an ongoing board state. So if you're looking at these cards, which one of them actually provides that utility, that tech utility? If you can only play 2, if you're going to play Silver Surfer in one of these on a game that goes sideways on turn 6, let's assume the baseline of like, oh, I played Infinity Ultron on 5, I don't have the Quinjet, it's 1 plus Surfer. Obviously, the Mind Stone's huge. You would lead with something like turn 3 Brood, turn 4 Absman, turn 5, you would go Infinity Ultron. And then even there, right, you could do something like the Soul Stone because you're filling locations really effectively into the Silver Surfer. So maybe it's a little versatile, more versatile than I expected.
And even if you only have the Reality Stone or the Power Stone, both those are big plays because think about it. You play the Power Stone, okay, doubles Ultron's power. It's a 3 cost that's on the board. Then you play Surfer. Okay, so you go bam, you get like a big kind of burst on one lane and some nice burst on another. Reality Stone, you setting that stone to a 3/6, bam. 3/6 Surfer, got a 3/8. Not bad. I mean, it's just, I feel like there's at least some outs. And by the way, this is me trying to find Ultron's best deck, not saying it's going to be like meta. I just think like this might be his best opportunity if it's not ramp. And this could be better than ramp. I don't know, because it kind of is ramp for him, right? But naturally, we always talk about it here in the Snapchat, just like going with the game plan of what the card wants to do already. And I feel like Surfer is a lot of that.
It's close. It definitely is close. And I guess we're going to have to cook on Tuesday a little bit and see what we can come up with.
For sure. But to sum it up, I would also say don't get the card. I mean, I think I think like if we both were to, really knuckle down and say what our thoughts are, with snap packs just around the corner, there's not a lot of good reason why to get it.
No, not at all. And I think that it's going to be a card that, like on YouTube, like thumbnails will write themselves, titles will be sensational. Like I think that it's the kind of card that is easy to get excited about, but I think a measured response from a resource perspective is going to be best, especially going into the snap packs that we know are confirmed for the end of the month. Absolutely.
Well, we're going to take this now. We're going to head into our next subject. And man, we got an OTA balance patch this week. And let me tell you, it was game changing, wasn't it, Alex?
If game changing is mid as hell, then yeah, I guess. I guess we have different definitions of game changing, sir.
Well, Patriot got no. Listen, guys, we have had this conversation here multiple times on the Snapchat that we would like to see them kind of take these chances, if you will, in OTAs on when we typically talk about is on cards that maybe need some love that haven't gone and try to do something spicy, like we saw with Adam Warlock. Let me read out the changes and then we'll have the conversation. So this week in the OTA, Red Wing went up to a 3/5, going down from a 5/8 to it's the 1 power these days is not cutting it, but also I just feel like there's so many cool potential things that they can do with these cards and or make Devil Dinosaur a 5/5. Give him 2 power. See what happens there. He's not getting any play, so 1 extra power is not going to do it. A Patriot getting a 3/2, if anything, is not a nerf, but like, I mean, bro, if you were playing a Doom 2099 Ravonna Mystique Doctor Doom deck, it's actually a nerf on the card, right? Because it's going out of Ravonna range. A 3-2 is not going to make Patriot all of a sudden viable. More so than he already was. It feels like they need to take, like, what is a 3-3 Patriot? How much of a risk is that? It doesn't feel like a huge risk. And if it was, then just in a week or so, it's not going to dominate. And if it does, then Enchantress will do her thing and whatever. You have those cards that come into play. It just feels like OTAs went from like really neat, impactful changes to like, we're hoping that happens.
Oh, if Patriot came out today in a Spotlight Cash, he'd be a 3-5. Like, just be honest,
probably,
right? He'd be a 3-4, 3-5, right? So him going to a 3-2 was like so inconsequential that it was almost sad. And you're right, it breaks the Ravonna synergy, which is basically a nerf, but it wasn't really being played with Ravonna anyways. No, I agree. If you're going to be making OTA changes, like to suggest that, like, first of all, one power changes here and there, like we've seen cards become irrelevant for less, right? Like, it's not insignificant. But at the same time, if you're like, hey, Patriots seeing no play, let's give it one power, like, come on. Like, move it to 3-3, right? Double Dinosaur is a great example of this. If you're going to give Dinosaur 5-4, do it in tandem with Ronin. Make Ronin a 5-6. Because Ronin now is even dumber to play. Because Double Dinosaur, at least you have your own agency in generating its power. Ronin, you have to rely on your opponent for its power to some degree, and obviously you have disruption mechanisms. But they're two peas in a pod. So I don't know why, if you're going to be buffing Double Dinosaur, like Ronin doesn't see play right now. Make Ronin a 5-6, Double Dinosaur a 5-4, and even that feels like more of an injection because you're kind of building that whole hand size, hand disruption archetype. But yeah, Double Dinosaur very easily could have been a 5-5. He's been irrelevant for the longest time, and is it because Kahori's not selling? Man, I don't know.
Yeah, it just like I'm all for power changes. I think they're fine, but when it's one power, it's just not going to be enough to really shake things up. I think cost changes are obviously huge, which you got to be careful with those, but we're all down for it, right? But then also, like the and/or text, and this is a crazy example. I just think it's a fun thing to mess with, right? You had it with Adam Warlock. Devil Dinosaur ongoing +2 power for each card in your hand, or if your hand is empty, he gets +10 power. I don't know. Like something like, wow, that really changes the way you can play Devil Dinosaur. You can either go for a potential 12 power Devil Dinosaur with maxed out hand size, or you can empty out your hand completely and then he'll spike up to 14 power. Like, it feels like there's a lot of these that they can mess with and try to bring. Not seeing the light of day.
Like, okay, or like perfect imbalance, so to speak. Like, you have cards that, like Ajax, overperform and enable an entire archetype. Yes, Ajax is probably overpowered in an individual basis, but that whole archetype doesn't exist without him. And so I think, like with the Ronin or a Devil Dinosaur, you can take a chance on making those cards even a little more impactful because they're the build-arounds. Like Thanos is a great example of this. Thanos now starts in your hand. It starts in your hand, Thanos does. And he can be brought down to a 5, which is another thing with Ultron, like Infinity Ultron. It's like he's competing with literally actual Thanos, who's often 5 power himself. So it's like, take the chances, take the risk. And one of the reasons why I had so much fun last week playing Kahori lists was because I was playing cards like Devil Dinosaur, cards I don't ever play. And the idea of just being able to play things I haven't been playing in a while, it actually made me excited to turn my stream on, turn on Snap, get my dailies done. You know what I mean? And I think that they can kind of infuse more power into some of these cards to make it more exciting.
Well, and the best part about this too is it's OTA, so that it's legit fixable. They can just get to it the exact next one, right? Like the balanced team is smart enough over there where they're not going to make a change that's like so insane that, like, you know, it's meta dominant for 3 weeks and everything's over. Buffed, right? But
yeah,
at the beginning of me, exactly what you have, and I think with, you know,
heartbreaking system and like solving a lot of these problems that existed for so long. It worked. Look at the.
Have you ever wondered why we are paid every 2 weeks when we work every day? With EarnIn, you can access your.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition. I'm excited to be playing Covert.
That's
changes upcoming. I think it just didn't. That is a miracle OTA that race the boosters, rewards card. So this system on aggregate is going to be cooked card for a 1,000 token less.
But at least
Một số địa danh nổi tiếng như Hà Giang với cung đường đèo Hùng Vĩ hay Hải Phòng với cảng biển nhộn nhịp sôi động. Những cái tên ấy không chỉ là địa danh mà còn là ký ức, là niềm tự hào của bao thế hệ người dân nơi đây sau khi có thông tin dự kiến về tên địa danh sau sát nhập. Nhiều người đang tự hỏi, vậy điều gì sẽ xảy ra nếu một ngày những cái tên quen thuộc ấy không còn trên bản đồ hành chính và những đặc sản vùng miền sẽ có tên gọi khác chăng? Liệu việc sáp nhập các tỉnh thành thay đổi tên gọi có làm mờ đi bản sắc của những vùng đất giàu truyền thống hay không? Thì mới đây ngày 12 tháng 4 năm 2025 của Hội nghị Trung ương 11 đã công bố kế hoạch sắp xếp lại 63 tỉnh thành hiện nay thành 34 đơn vị hành chính mới. Đây không chỉ là một thay đổi về địa giới mà là một quyết định hành chính, mà sẽ chỉ còn 34 đơn vị hành chính, gồm 28 tỉnh và 6 thành phố trực thuộc Trung ương. Mục tiêu là tạo ra những đơn vị thành được kỳ vọng sẽ giúp tiết kiệm ngân sách, tập trung nguồn lực cho tạo nên một khu vực phát triển toàn diện. Là truyền thống thì chính là tuổi thơ, là ký ức, là hơi thở. Như một số thay đổi dự kiến, Hải Dương và thành phố Hải Phòng giữ tên Hải Phòng, trung tâm hành chính tại Hải Phòng, tên là Tuyên Quang, trung tâm hành chính đặt tại Tuyên Quang hiện nay. Hải Phòng hợp nhất tỉnh Hải Dương. Về những tên gọi mới thì lựa chọn không chỉ là một cái tên thôi đâu. Một trong những điểm nhấn của nghị quyết là công bố danh sách dự kiến tên gọi và thủ phủ của 34 đơn vị hành chính mới, như một số thay đổi dự kiến sau. Tuyên Quang hợp nhất tỉnh Tuyên Quang và Hà Giang, lấy tên là Tuyên Quang, trung tâm hành chính đặt tại Tuyên Quang hiện nay. Hải Phòng hợp nhất tỉnh Hải Dương và thành phố Hải Phòng, giữ tên Hải Phòng, trung tâm hành chính tại Hải Phòng. Ninh Bình hợp nhất Hà Nam, Ninh Bình và Nam Định, lấy tên Ninh Bình, trung tâm hành chính tại Ninh Bình. Đà Nẵng hợp nhất Quảng Nam và Đà Nẵng, giữ tên Đà Nẵng, trung tâm hành chính tại Đà Nẵng. Vĩnh Long hợp nhất Bến Tre, Vĩnh Long và Trà Vinh, lấy tên Vĩnh Long, trung tâm hành chính tại Vĩnh Long. Việc chọn tên gọi không chỉ dựa trên yếu tố hành chính mà còn cân nhắc lịch sử, văn hóa và sức ảnh hưởng của địa phương. Chẳng hạn, việc giữ tên Hải Phòng thay vì Hải Dương phản ánh vai trò trung tâm kinh tế, cảng biển của thành phố này, nhưng cũng đặt ra câu hỏi những giá trị của Hải Dương, vùng đất của các làng nghề truyền thống và di tích lịch sử thì sẽ được bảo tồn như thế nào. Cũng có ý kiến cho rằng việc ưu tiên tên gọi của một địa phương nổi bật hơn có thể hợp lý từ góc độ quản lý, nhưng cần đi kèm với các chính sách cụ thể để quảng bá và bảo tồn bản sắc của các tỉnh bị sáp nhập. Nếu không, nguy cơ mất dấu văn hóa là điều khó tránh khỏi. Nhưng người dân hãy yên tâm rằng việc gìn giữ bản sắc là điều tất yếu. Khi tên gọi không còn thì linh hồn vẫn ở lại. Khi nhắc đến sáp nhập, nhiều người không khỏi bùi ngùi khi nghĩ về những cái tên sẽ biến mất khỏi bản đồ hành chính. Nhiều người lấy Hà Tây là một ví dụ điển hình. Từ năm 2008 khi sáp nhập vào Hà Nội, cái tên Hà Tây không còn trên giấy tờ, nhưng trong lòng người dân nó vẫn là vùng đất của những làng nghề, những giá trị văn hóa độc đáo. Điều này cho thấy tên gọi có thể thay đổi, nhưng bản sắc của một vùng đất thì trường tồn nếu được trân trọng và gìn giữ đúng cách. Các chuyên gia nhấn mạnh rằng sáp nhập không đồng nghĩa với xóa bỏ. Ngược lại, đây là cơ hội để những giá trị văn hóa, phong tục tập quán được lan tỏa rộng rãi hơn. Về giá trị của quê hương, những câu nói đùa này.
We're gonna see how many Pokemon cards we can buy with $100 on the Whatnot app. First lot of the day we're
không chỉ mang lại tiếng cười mà còn phản ánh một sự thật. Người dân luôn gắn bó sâu sắc với quê hương, với những cái tên đã trở thành một phần ký ức. Dù là đùa vui, nhưng đằng sau đó là nỗi lo lắng về việc mất đi những dấu ấn thân thuộc. Điều này nhắc nhở các nhà hoạch định chính sách rằng sáp nhập không chỉ là thay đổi trên giấy tờ mà còn phải chạm đến trái tim của người dân. Bình luận, sự hài hước của người dân là minh chứng cho tình yêu quê hương sâu đậm. Đây cũng là lời nhắc nhở rằng bất kỳ thay đổi nào cũng không thiếu thách thức, mà còn phải đáp ứng các tiêu chí về hạ tầng kinh tế và văn hóa. Ví dụ, việc đặt trung tâm hành chính của tỉnh Phú Thọ hợp nhất Vĩnh Phúc, Phú Thọ, Hòa Bình tại Phú Thọ hiện nay là một lựa chọn hợp lý nhờ vị trí trung tâm và tiềm năng phát triển